Why is it that we can decide to change our entire lives on a Sunday night, feeling like a completely new person, only to find ourselves back on the couch, elbow deep in a bag of chips by Tuesday afternoon? We've been fed this cultural narrative that success requires massive action. We think that if we want to lose 50 pounds, build a $1 million business, or write a novel, we need some kind of Herculean effort or a lightning bolt of motivation. But in his seminal work, Atomic Habits, James Clear argues that this obsession with the big moment is exactly why most of us fail. He suggests that the most profound changes in our lives don't come from a single explosive event, but from the accumulation of tiny, almost invisible choices that we make every single day. Think of it like an airplane taking off from Los Angeles headed to New York. If the pilot adjusts the nose just 3.5 degrees to the south, you wouldn't even notice the shift while sitting in your seat. But by the time you cross the country, you wouldn't be in the Big Apple. You'd be landing in Washington, D.C. This book is a manual for those 3-degree shifts. It's about the atomic, the small, the fundamental, and the powerful. The first big idea that Clear introduces, which honestly flips the entire self-help industry on its head, is the difference between goals and systems. We are taught to be goal-oriented. We want the gold medal, the promotion, or the six-pack. But James Clear points out a glaring flaw in this logic. The winners and the losers often have the exact same goals. Every Olympian wants the gold. Every job seeker wants the position. If the goal is the same, the goal cannot be the thing that differentiates the person who succeeds from the person who doesn't. He argues that we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. Imagine you have a messy room and you set a goal to clean it. You summon the energy. You scrub for 3 hours, and suddenly you have a clean room. But if you keep the same sloppy habits that led to the mess in the first place, you'll be looking at a pile of dirty laundry again in 3 days. You've treated the symptom, but you haven't fixed the system. This book pushes us to stop obsessing over the finish line and start obsessing over the track we're running on every day. The second transformative concept is what I like to call the identity shift. Most people try to change their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. This leads to outcome-based habits. For example, I want to be thin, so I will go for a run. This sounds logical, but it's incredibly fragile. The moment you're tired or the weather is bad, your brain says, I don't really want to be thin that badly today, and you quit. James Clear suggests we move toward identity-based habits instead. This is about focusing on who you wish to become. Imagine 2 people being offered a cigarette. The first person says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. This sounds like progress, but they still identify as a smoker who is trying to be something else. They are carrying their old identity into their new behavior. The second person says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. It's a tiny shift in language, but it signals a massive shift in identity. When your behavior and your identity are aligned, you're no longer trying to do something. You're simply acting like the person you believe yourself to be. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. If you write 1 page, you are a writer. If you pick up a dumbbell, you are an athlete. You don't need a masterpiece or a marathon to claim the identity. You just need to win the majority of the votes. Now, let's talk about why we quit. Clear describes a phenomenon called the plateau of latent potential. Imagine you have an ice cube sitting on a table in a room that is 25 degrees. You heat the room up 1 degree at a time. 26, 27, 28. Nothing happens. 29, 30, 31. Still, the ice cube is just sitting there. You've put in all this effort. You've increased the temperature by 6 degrees, and you see 0 results. Then, you hit 32 degrees. Suddenly, the ice begins to melt. A 1-degree shift, no different than the ones before it, has unlocked a total transformation. This is how habits work. We expect progress to be linear, a straight line going up. But in reality, the results of our efforts are often delayed. We go to the gym for a month, look in the mirror, and see the same person. This is the valley of disappointment, where many people give up. But this book reminds us that the work isn't wasted, it's being stored. All the atomic changes you're making are compounding, and you just haven't hit 32 degrees yet. To actually make these habits stick, Clear provides a framework that simplifies the messy world of human psychology. He breaks every habit down into 4 stages: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. If you want to build a good habit, you have to manipulate these 4 stages. First, you make it obvious. Most of our habits are unconscious. We're just reacting to our environment. If you want to practice guitar more, don't leave it in the case in the back of the closet. Put it on a stand in the middle of the living room. Second, make it attractive. Pair something you need to do with something you want to do. Third, make it easy. This is where the 2-minute rule comes in. If a habit takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Or better yet, scale your habits down so they only take 2 minutes to start. Don't read a book a week. Just read 1 page before bed. The goal is just to show up, because you can't improve a habit that doesn't exist. Finally, make it satisfying. Our brains are hardwired to value immediate rewards over long-term ones. You need to give yourself a small win right away to tell your brain, hey, this felt good, let's do it again. However, no book is perfect, and Atomic Habits deserves a bit of a critique. While James Clear is a master of systemization, some might find the book's approach a bit mechanical. It treats the human brain like a piece of software that just needs a few lines of code updated. It doesn't dive deeply into the heavy emotional or psychological trauma that often sits underneath our worst habits. For someone struggling with deep-seated addiction or clinical depression, making it obvious might feel like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. There's also the question of systemic barriers. The book focuses heavily on individual agency, what you can do in your own environment. It doesn't spend much time acknowledging that some people's environments are shaped by socioeconomic factors that make easy habits much harder to maintain. It's an incredibly empowering book, but it's important to remember that it's a tool for optimization, not necessarily a cure for deep psychological or societal wounds. Some critics also argue that the 1% better philosophy can lead to a state of constant optimization, anxiety, where we feel guilty for any moment that isn't being used to compound our future self. Despite those critiques, the verdict on Atomic Habits is clear. It is arguably the most practical guide to human behavior written in the last 20 years. It moves past the just do it cliches of the past and gives you a literal blueprint for change. It's for the person who is tired of the New Year's resolution cycle. It's for the person who feels like they're working hard, but standing still. This book is a reminder that you don't need to be a different person to change your life. You just need to build a better system. It's about the quiet power of the mundane. If you want to take one actionable step today, right now, use what James Clear calls habit stacking. It's the easiest way to trick your brain into a new routine. The formula is simple. For example, don't just say you'll meditate. Say, after I pour my first cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. You're anchoring the new, fragile behavior to an old, rock-solid one. It's a tiny adjustment. It's a 3-degree shift. But if you keep doing it, you might be surprised at where you land. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're constantly diving into the world's most transformative books. Though, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Atomic Habits for the full experience. Until next time, keep voting for the person you want to become, one tiny habit at a time. I'll see you in the next episode.